All right. Happy Saturday, everybody. Or Friday evening, depending on where you're coming from, or Saturday evening, depending on where you're coming from. Um, Doing a special show today. Haven't done a Saturday morning show in quite a while, but I am joined with special guest Wilberforce, fan of the show and longtime supporter. Wilberforce, would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Um, yeah, I guess people are familiar with me, from side chats, and comments, and I've been on here a couple of times. So,
Sure.
uh, yeah, I just can't stand precepts. So,
Yeah, but most of us are driven crazy by the precepts. Yeah,
I
that's
mean, sophistry sucks. So,
yeah, it does. Especially when it's like self-righteous, stuck up
oh
sophistry.
yeah. Well,
Um,
it's funny because I've heard it mentioned a few times. Xerxes converted. He's a Catholic now. Um,
yeah,
and
something like
I talked with him about that briefly, and he's like, "No, I literally just had witness of the Holy Spirit." I'm like, "Okay, that's fine." He still hates precept and thinks it's specious bullshit. So we have that in common.
yeah. Um, let's see. I'm gonna
And
try.
that and Darth's just an asshole. So
Right. Yeah.
he's nice to make fun of.
I'm gonna try to adjust some settings on your.
Yeah, no, it was in an echo.
Well, some people are saying that I can't edit your mic settings. I thought. Oh, I can't edit your mic settings. Interesting. Well, that's weird.
Well,
Oh,
maybe I can.
oh, that's because you muted yourself. Okay. Echo cancellation. Reduce. Let's try to reduce mic background noise. I'm gonna get rid of your. And pump up your volume a little bit. Okay. There we go. Okay. Try saying something now.
Does that sound any better?
Yeah, that's a little bit better. I think this is actually doing a decent job of kind of clearing that up. Let me crank up my.
Because I do have the echo cancellation and reduced background noise turned on my end anyway. If that's
Yeah,
something.
and I just activated that one, and then I kind of boosted your um,
Yeah, I saw that.
wanted to boost the audio a little bit. Let's see. Oh, okay. Yeah, mine is correct. All right. Okay. So, yeah, hopefully that will work. Yeah. So, yeah, this one there's not a lot of context for the video that we're going to be covering. It was just Darth talking to
Okay.
somebody on Discord, and he gets into a conversation with this Working Knuckles guy, and Working Knuckles seems to have more than a passing literacy with basic biology and basic science. And Darth gets a bit triggered talking to him,
Extremely.
and seems to do. I mean, it's pretty. It becomes pretty apparent, like during the conversation, that like the more he realizes this guy knows, the more he's just going to keep talking
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah, that's
prevent Knuckles from explaining anything because he doesn't want that coming out. So yeah, it's
yeah.
bad. So yeah, I guess we'll just get this started and we'll go from here. All right.
Cool.
Let's see. Volume's working well. Usual rules apply, audience. If this is not working or if sound isn't, if sound in the video, of course, is gone, yell at me. Best in show. Wait, King Xerxes converted to Catholic. Not entire. I don't know that he is technically a Catholic. Somebody got after me about this in
I don't
the
think he's been confirmed or anything.
he did, according to a statement that he wrote to a friend of mine, JL Warren, friend of the show. He did say that he found his way to God, or his mental. I can't even remember how he put his mental ascent to God, or something like that. And he credited it
Mhm.
with various arguments that he heard from two tradcath guys, Ed Fesser and another guy that's actually running for the Republican in the Republican primary. He's a minor character, but he's a loon. And so Xerxes cited them as that. Given Xerxes' political opinions, it seems like if he's going towards Christianity, he would kind of trend towards the traditionalist Catholic mold, which is pretty much straight up fascist, Christian fascist. But to say that he actually is a Catholic through and through, don't know yet. But he has switched from being a non-believer to a believer in God. So, yeah. So, all right, here we go. Darth Dawkins talking about evolution with working knuckles.
Hey, Tom Rabbit. Hey, Tom Rabbit. Rabbit like. Now, the secret sauce for evolution is deep time. Okay. But when you actually investigate it, the deep time that is there isn't enough time for evolution to happen. This is the third. There's not enough time, even in a massive universe. There's not enough time and trials for mutations to build the genome of the animal kingdom. This is comparable to a fairy tale.
What's that?
So I'm probably going to break in a lot on this because it drives me crazy when he talks about evolution in particular. What he's referencing is a paper from 2015 written by a bunch of creationists. It's called The Waiting Time Problem in a Model Hominin Population. Okay. And it's referenced regularly on the Discovery Institute, which is where Darth gets all of his Cliff Notes about evolution. And this is stuff that they acknowledge in the paper, right? So they are so they're talking about, for one, they used a constant and unchanging population. All right. They reduce the waiting times can be reduced. They acknowledge this by higher mutation rates, stronger fitness benefits, and larger population sizes, all of which they ignored in the paper. And they ignored any combinations that didn't fit with an expected result, specifically life as we currently know it on Earth today. Right. They also only looked at single nucleotide mutations. They ignored duplication. They ignored insertions. They ignored point mutations or multiple point mutations, a lot of different other things as well. And they only allowed one mutation to arise and become a fixed, right, or become kind of a standard feature of the population at a time, which is none of that is how mutation works at all, which is something that Knuckles is going to bring up regularly or try to.
Yeah, he's going to attempt to break in with that. Yeah, agreed. No, I'm glad you brought that up because I wondered, like, kind of what his source was, Darth's source was for bringing this up. This objection, and I've heard this before from apologists, young Earth ones, young Earth creationist types, so talk about like the problem of deep time, and every time they bring it up, I'm just like, wait, what? Like it, the idea, because what they end up doing is they sort of posited as like there's not enough time for life to just like so they're like the reason that evolution, which is observable, can't happen is because abiogenesis can't happen, and the reason that it can't happen is there isn't enough time. And it's like, okay, there's already like 5 problems with the 3 things that you just laid out there, and
exactly.
And none of the, that doesn't track. And then they try to say like, no, there's just, it's not possible for life to have spontaneously come about from some prebiotic origin, given the time that scientists say that our observable universe has existed. Right. And then when actually pressed into a corner, they just talk about how improbable it is. It's like, wait, you can't go from impossible to improbable. Because then you're actually revealing that it's just like, oh, well, it's really unlikely that things would no, but that wasn't your point. Your initial argument was it's impossible given the amount of time. And like he does this quite a bit throughout this. And he just
and they have no comparative examples. I mean, none.
None. Jad, there's also the world's tiniest laser gun going on in the background, but it's kind of adorable, so it's okay. It's birdies. Yeah, I have a bird feeder, and I've got my screen open, my window open. There's a bird feeder right out the way, and there are a lot of finches like killing each other over the bird seed out there. In fact, I just filled that thing last night, and they started eating this morning, and it's halfway gone. These damn things are starved. Like, I gotta
that's a lot of finches.
Yeah, I gotta get in touch with like the neighborhood. Like more people need to put out bird feeders because I'm the only one. Like I look out my patio and like I'm the only bird feeder out here, and the birds know it. Like they're getting aggressive. Like there's two of them
Between them
beating
and the squirrels, you're just a regular. You're like
yeah.
Snow White.
Yeah, I'm the number one source of nutrition for my neighborhood now for these damn wild. The weird thing was I kept seeing the squirrels show up and then more birds showed up and I'm like, oh okay. One day I walk into my apartment, I look out the door, I look out the balcony, and I see a mated pair, downy woodpeckers on there, the white and chalky, with the little reds. Yeah, they're on the bird feeder, and I'm like, holy shit! Like more, and then there were rabbits down below, and I'm like, okay, this is getting out of control. It's starting to turn into like a Disney movie around here. All right, let's see here.
Well, no, like the only way you can know that your point is true is if we knew how much genetic information or proteins got added on after each single
Do you think
mutation.
10 followed
I don't
by
think we know
100
that.
zero? Listen, if there's one chance in 10 followed by 100 zeros, do you know how many elementary particles many scientists conjecture are in the universe? They conjecture that it's 10 to the power of 80 zeros.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can we
The
pause that?
odds of mutations produced.
So where he's getting this is actually a 2017 issue of Popular Mechanics. There's a physicist by the name of Tony Padilla, and I believe he's at the University of Texas. And what he pointed out actually is that the number of fundamental particles in the observable universe, which is 4% of the estimated total universe, is 3.25 times 10 to the 80.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's where he's getting it. He's completely leaving out that doesn't account for the other 96% of the universe.
Of the universe, naturally.
Yeah.
Producing the coding sequence for a rudimentary protein are 10 followed by 100 zeros. That's just for a protein.
Wait, what is it? 10 to the 100?
Like people are like, wait, what?
Exponent of
And
100.
this is going to be a
mutation.
running theme.
Yeah. This like, wait, how'd you get to that number?
By chance.
No, I'm
coming
saying
up
why is it 10 and 100? Where is that number coming from?
because it's coming from that there's a 100 amino acid sequence in a rudimentary protein.
There's 100 amino acid sequence in rudimentary protein?
No, most proteins, I don't even know if such a protein exists. I'm just using that.
Then why? Wait, he doesn't know if that kind of protein exists, but he's saying that.
Exactly.
What the? Okay, yeah.
Well,
at that point,
what he's
like,
going to say is he's using it as a conservative, estimate, because most basic proteins have 300 or 400. Right.
Yeah.
He's saying, well, even if it's only 100.
Yeah, it's like, well, now we can do scary math. Jesus.
Big numbers.
Tom says that I should build up a bird feeder monopoly. I've got to move the one that I have. It's too close to where I live. Like I said, there's a squirrel. Like she hasn't done it today, but she will be crawling up the screen door any minute now, looking for stuff. They're looking to dispatch me. That's what
those woodpeckers. You don't happen to have aluminum siding, do you?
What's that?
You don't happen to have aluminum siding?
No, not
good.
not on this. Yeah, not on this building. No.
Yeah, because they will try and peck through it. My neighbors growing up had aluminum siding, and they had a woodpecker that every morning at like 5 a.m. just trying to peck through the aluminum siding. It sounded like a machine gun going off every day.
Oh God, yeah, no, that's insane.
It was ridiculous.
This guy's, how long has it been going? It says 15 hours. That can't be right. Well, no, this was pending for at least 15 hours, but it's not. We've only been live for 15 minutes. So
yeah.
Oh, April 9th. Hello. For my first time catching you live. Yep. I've seen your comments quite a bit. Thanks for joining us live. All right, let's see here. Let's see what he's going to do.
As a conservative figure to work with, most proteins, your average proteins, have several hundred amino acids in their linear sequence, and they have to be coded for one by nucleotides representing each amino acid.
Okay, so how many amino acids does humans have?
Well, there are only 20 amino acids that are used in biology. And so,
Yeah,
if you mutate,
this is where Darth is he completely answered a different question, right? Knuckles asked him how many amino acids are in the human body, not how many kinds, right? There's trillions upon trillions of amino acids in the human body.
Right. Yeah.
Like, he's completely missing that.
But we only consist of what, 21?
I think it's 22 actually.
22. Okay. Yeah. I was gonna
That's
say,
if you include uracil. That goes into RNA.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's 21 or 22.
If you have mutations down at a molecular level, any 3 nucleotides will code for a codon, which will represent an amino acid. So any random arrangement of 3 nucleotides will yield one of 20 possible amino acids. So,
Yes.
for example, if you have to have
He's
2
mostly right
amino
about
acids in a correct functional sequence.
Yeah, like based on what I'm hearing here, it's like he's kind of like, and even Knuckles, I think, acknowledges it's like he's giving like a basic kind of explanation.
Any
of how
codon will produce an amino acid.
Yeah, and he's kind of given a basic explanation. So it's like, okay, well, this sounds right.
That's pretty much the only thing he gets right.
Yeah.
Okay. The first one is 1 in 20. Okay. The next one is 1 in 400. The next one is 1 in 8,000.
Wait, what?
What's
Sorry.
20 times 20?
400.
That's right. So if you have a 1 in 20 chance multiplied by a 1 in 20 chance, and you have to get those 2 things in a row, you have a
No,
1 in 400.
no. That's not how mutations work, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
dude,
not
you-
how
you're
mutations
talking
work.
about.
Yeah, this is one of the funniest things for me, because it took me a while to kind of, and I still get thrown off by this idea from like these young Earth creationists that are like, or these kind of like counter evolutionists ones that talk about like, no, it has to happen like a password, and it's like, I don't think that's right.
And Darth is going to actually phrase it exactly that way multiple times.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
true.
just doesn't work like that.
It's like, it's like, oh no, it's like a password. It's a code. Like, no, it might be
It's not. When you see like in TV shows when someone's hacking a computer, right? And
Right.
I got to find the password, and so we're going through the first digit, and we have to get that one right, and followed by the second digit, and we have to get that one right. That is not how mutation works at all.
Right. Gray Knight, interesting amino acid facts. The smallest functional protein in the human body is 44 amino acids long. The smallest functional polypeptide in humans is only 3 amino acids long. Neat. Now I know.
About.
No, you don't know what you're talking about.
No, I do know what I'm talking about. I'll explain it to you again. Okay.
Where is that number? 100
Any Randy, I'll go through it again with you. Okay.
I like how you can't answer a simple question. I'll go through it again. Like, don't start from the beginning. Just tell me where you got that number from, and he won't do it.
You'll notice throughout the whole video, you're gonna see that text come up that Tom included.
Yeah, where is that number coming from? Yeah, it's like he refuses to answer that question
over and over and over again because he doesn't know where the number comes from because Stephen Meyer told him so. That's really what it comes down to.
There's only 20 amino acids that are used in biology. Okay. Now, if you randomly generate insertion, okay, of a nucleotide that didn't exist before on top of one. Okay, so like let's take the word dog. Okay, DOG.
No, no,
right?
you don't
In
have
order-
to explain to me basic
Hold on.
study.
I will
Hold
because you
on.
don't understand it. I'm trying to explain it to you that you have
I love that. Like, you don't have to explain this part to me. No, I do have to because you don't understand it. Like, no, I think he
Right.
does get that. Like,
He completely understands it.
yeah, he already kind of cottoned on to what you were talking about a long time ago there, Darth.
functional and non-functional sequences. Okay, so the word dog is an analogy where you have DOG of something that is functional. Okay, now what are the if you have to get the word dog for a password and you randomly pick one
Exact password.
letters from A to Z, what are the odds of getting the first letter?
Yeah. So it's like 1 in 26.
Well, and what he's going to really screw up on statistics here, right, is he's going to say, oh, well, it's, 1 in 26 to the third. Yeah, to get specifically dog, it is 1 in 26 to the third.
Right.
So what? If you take the letters D, O, and G and put them together, or, you take the whole alphabet and you randomly put together 3-letter combinations, yeah, it's 1 in 26 to the third. Okay, so what? Any given hand in 5-card stud, if you take suit and value, right? So like a 7 highs diamond straight, 1 in 2.5 million. But you're gonna have a hand. You will have a hand. I have not played 2.5 million hands of poker. I have had a 7 high diamond straight more than once. I mean, it's just, this is Darth not understanding statistics.
Yeah. And just trying to appeal to this kind of fear of big numbers, kind of
Basically.
thing. And essentially trying to do the most fallacious thing because it's super improbable. It might as well be impossible. That's like, no, that's not how that works either.
There's an even bigger, scarier number. So if you take 10 people and put them in a room, ask them all their birthdays, right? For each one of them, that day is a 1 in 365 probability. The odds of every single person having the birthday that they do actually comes out to, let's see, 1 in 40. I didn't do this math. Dave Farina did, Professor Dave, but it's true. 1 in 42 trillion is the odds that those 10 people are going to have those specific birthdays. The odds that those 10 people are going to have a birthday is 100%. Again, Darth does not get statistics.
Yeah.
1 in 26, but I know how this works.
What is the odds of getting DOG?
In an entirely random sequence would be 1 to 26 to the power of 3. Yes.
That's right. Now, how big a number is that?
It's a large enough number, but that's
right
not
now.
I like how he says it's 1 to 26, 1 in 26 to the power of 3. Like, okay, so it's 26 cubed. And they, like, how big a number is that? Like, Darth really wants to show, like, how many zeros come after that if you write it out. Like,
right.
Who are you talking to? Like, at this point, he's literally trying to scare kids.
Pretty much.
This just does not make sense. Like, that's not relevant to what you're talking about. Like, that's a big number, isn't it? Like, okay. There's too many of these guys walking around, trying to use this kind of thing. Like, well, you know what I got for you, Captain Science? I'm going to scare you with your own numbers. Like, no, you're not. Miss me with that shit.
Right. Well, I mean, they are trying to scare people who are bad at math. So
yeah,
it's really the whole reason for that is to maintain for people who already believe. Oh, well, yeah, clearly. Huge numbers can't be.
Yeah. And I do not consider myself to be good at math. In fact, I'm probably quite poor at math. But I ended up getting into weird stuff. Like I really enjoy, like I was always bad at calculations. and I wasn't great at like geometry and trig because they bored me, but I really liked like the more abstract stuff. And then that was pretty much it. I got to, I think, like kind of the calc level, and
Right.
that was where things stopped for me. But like, and I never did take statistics, which I kind of regret because, especially given the job that I have, I probably should know more about statistics than I do. And I never took a college course in it, and I really should have.
Yeah. Well, between the two of us,
What's that?
between the two of us, then we combine to make one full understanding of mathematics.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that will work. That's perfect for this for
Yeah.
this
What you're
conversation.
good at is where I suck, and it sounds like vice versa.
Oh,
We
now,
know that.
no, okay, listen to me. You don't know what you're talking about because
I do. That's the
mutations.
problem.
Okay,
He actually just illustrated that he does know what he's talking about. This is Darth just like I mean he's coping hard already, and this guy hasn't even really had a chance to speak.
Right. And he's going to illustrate it more, and Darth will not. I mean, he's literally going to illustrate, here's how I'm educated on this. And Darth won't even let him say that.
do you know? Okay, do you know? Okay, when we're talking about building the genome, okay, it has to be built incrementally. Even if you allow for polyploidism or even gene duplication, it still has to be done sequentially because the double helix is sequential molecular information. It is a code.
Good one, Michael Beaton.
And
That's
these
why that
codes
Yeah,
I like that. I think the big penises are particularly confusing for Darth.
I'm trying to. Did I put anything in the description that it indicated there was going to be a join link? I think Clockwork Rex is hollering about a join link. Sorry, Clockwork Rex. I've only got Wilberforce on this morning as a guest, so there probably won't be a join link.
call it
redundant, right?
no, sir. It doesn't matter if some things are redundant. You still need an unimaginable amount of original material to code for complex anatomy and physiology. Okay, you have coding for your circulatory system. Okay, you have coding for the digestive system. You have coding for the neurology, your central nervous system. These are extremely long sequences. Okay. Now,
Yes,
people
they
have been
are.
brainwashed. Yeah. How old are you?
I'm in my
Oh boy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you know he's losing.
This is where Knuckles is going to literally lay out his credentials, and Darth won't let him.
Exactly.
mid-20s, mid-late 20s.
Okay, good. How much biology have you studied?
I'm currently doing a master's program for physics, but I did my undergrad in bio.
Right. Now, the point is
did
that
you hear underneath Darth yelling over him? He did his undergrad in biology.
Yeah.
Like,
I
guess he does know what he's talking about.
It's like, okay, so he's got a bachelor's degree in biology, biological sciences of some kind, and is now getting a master's degree in physics. but because he's under 30, he's obviously a snot-nosed kid that Darth Dawkins has to kick in the ass.
Right. Well, there's that, and there's this. Right. Darth has zero education in biology. I don't think he passed 9th grade biology. But on top of that, when he's bringing up age on this, right? Newton was 44 when he developed the theory of gravity. He was my age.
Yeah.
Right. Einstein was 26 when he developed special relativity. Like, young people can come up with some pretty ingenious shit.
Yeah. But Darth has always been old enough to be all those guys' fathers. So,
well, yeah.
Yeah, he can school them all.
Because he's a Tom.
this. Do you think that in a single universe, okay, with lots of solar system, that there's a decent chance of mutations building the genome of the animal kingdom?
What does this have to do with explaining how
Answer the fucking question, because now you're
I asked
dodging.
you
Because
a question.
listen,
and you
I'm
never
not going to
answered
keep.
mine.
Hey, listen to me.
So-
I don't have patience with you.
Darth misses something else here, right? When he's talking about a huge universe with tons of solar systems. Okay. The current estimates are approximately 100 quintillion Earth-like planets in the known universe. Okay. Now, when he tries to lay out his statistics, he's using one planet as a sample or as a data point.
Yeah.
Right. He's ignoring the fact that amino acids form all the time. It's completely mundane. We have found them on asteroids floating in space. Right. Like 5 years ago, they found one on I think it's called the Ryugu asteroid. I don't know. It was a Japanese lander. So we know amino acids form easily. You can fit between 2 and 5 million amino acids in a cubic micron of water, and they undergo reactions every 2 to 3 per second.
Okay.
So that's your data point. How many actual reactions between amino acids are we talking about?
Yeah.
In 13 billion years, 2 to 3 per second per cubic micron. I'm sorry, 2 to 3 per second times 2 million per cubic micron of water on all 100 quintillion Earth-like planets.
Yeah.
Now, you want to talk big numbers. I think that's an inconceivably large number.
I was kind of wonder, like, because one of the counter arguments to this kind of thing is like, given the number of the potential number for Earth-like planets, and given the amount of proteins that we have flying around,
Right.
what is the likelihood of something like either prebiotic amino acid reactions happening, and maybe even like the biotic life, actual life happening? What are the odds that it won't happen?
Pretty slim, in all honesty.
Yeah.
The other thing to keep in mind is it's completely mundane for amino acids to polymerize in just kind of normal, everyday environments, like just hot clay. Like they naturally polymerize.
Right. Yeah. It just seems like this is one of the things that I think these guys don't, but I think part of it is because, like, okay, there's only one planet with life on it. Like, wait, who says? And like the odds that this one planet and all this space and all this time happen to have life like us, like all of this is just kind of an argument from we're special, and the only way that we can be special if somebody made us that way. Like,
Right.
Nothing that you're doing right now follows. Like, this is all just like story, kind of fairy tale talk. Like, and not to like kind of compartmentalize it that way, but it's almost like there's something insipid about that thinking. Like, it's just like that's so childish and so kind of like up your own ass, thinking that like, no, it follows that we're special because we're special. Like, no, we might not be.
Could only become us. It couldn't be anything else.
Yeah, and the scope of the universe is so vast, it's almost panic attack inducing. Even what we understand about we're on a planet that is falling. I mean, that's like, and yeah, it's being spun around around a nuclear reactor in a solar system that is literally hurtling through space. Like, and it's just like, if you stop and think, like, the whole thing is absurd. They're like, no, it was designed. Like, really?
Well, so you mentioned the one planet with life on it, right?
Yeah.
So here's another thing with statistics. You have to have a comparative example, right? So there are 2 rocky planets, okay, that either do have or have had water and the minerals needed. Okay. There's 2 that we have the technology to be able to detect life. One of them is completely lousy with it. So that's, I mean, really what you're looking at is 50%.
Yeah.
And it's possible that there is still potentially, there could be life on Mars. We do know of bacteria in existence today that would thrive in a Martian environment.
Right.
It's called, I looked it up actually, it's called Dinococcus radiodurans. They also call it Conan the bacterium because it's basically indestructible.
Really? So it's like
And
a
it could literally thrive on Mars.
what do they call those? Like an extremophile or whatever? They're like a life form that can just like
Right.
like
It's a polyextremophile is what they call it. It can live in all kinds of extreme environments.
yeah, kind of like a tardigrade. Like those things are durable as hell.
Yeah.
Morning, Victory Joker. Yeah, he's. I hope your day's been going well so far. Oh, some DD. Guess you chose masochism today. I did. Yeah, I haven't even had breakfast yet. Like, Saturday's usually my brunch day. I haven't like doing this on an empty gas tank, but yeah.
Turns out Jefferson's a switch.
Young males on here who are deceptive and evasive. I am asking you a question in order to educate you on something.
You don't need
Now,
to educate.
okay,
me on
listen to
something
me
I know.
carefully. One of the world's foremost experts in the
Eugene
world, Dr. Eugene Koonin,
Here we go.
Here we go. Eugene Koonin.
expert
Always.
on evolution and microbiology, categorically stated in his book Defending Evolution that the mutations producing the genome of the animal kingdom in toto is vanishingly small.
I'm going to need Darth to not use the phrase in toto ever again. I don't like the way he says it. And also, what I think is interesting, him bringing up Eugene Koonin, is that, and I've mentioned this before because he'll talk about this kind of stuff. Koonin's take on a lot of this kind of stuff is sort of like him, and there's several other biologists that have been talking about this. Is sort of a take on trying to restructure
The modern synthesis.
modern synthesis and the communication around explaining to the population ideas about because I think one of Koonin's concerns is this idea that happens in science communication where natural selection is almost considered this sort of like sentient thing.
Right.
And it's sort of become this kind of thing. And Koonin and others are quite critical of that. But for whatever reason, I don't get this. This to me illustrates why Darth doesn't understand this. He's bringing up a guy who is a microbiologist who is critical of science communication in the realm of evolution, trying to illustrate the possibilities for another topic, which is abiogenesis.
Yeah.
He's
and honestly, like I have a friend who's a biochemist, like a professional biochemist. He got his doctorate in molecular, cellular, and developmental biology at the University of Colorado. I worked in his lab while I was getting my history degree, right?
Mhm.
And he has the same criticism as Koonin. Science communication is done extremely poorly.
Yeah, I watched a group of philosophers. A couple of them had philosophy backgrounds, and they were kind of arguing about this. The way that natural selection is kind of thrown around and stuff. And it's like, well, there's plenty of people in the hard sciences that had similar grievances with the way this is being communicated, because it ends up becoming this idea like nature chooses and all this kind of stuff. It starts to end up becoming, it's not, the language was never meant to be this kind of like nature in, nature or the universe, or there's some kind of guiding hand about this.
Right.
If anything, the language that they're going for is like, it needs to be a lot more, it needs to invoke a sense of more randomness. It's a little bit more haphazard than we even thought. And for whatever reason, Darth just like gravitates to this guy who's making arguments about this as a way of saying like, no, it's just not possible. It's like, that's not what Koonin has not, I don't think has argued about the impossibility of any of this kind of stuff. As far as I can tell, his stuff is is just on the way the modern synthesis in terms of science communication is being put out, to the general public. It's just a general framework for understanding broader scientific concepts. And for whatever reason, he's like, well, that guy believes in evolution. Like, why? I want to ask him if I ever get a chance to talk to him. Like, why do you keep bringing up this guy?
Well, because he's critical of the modern synthesis.
Right, but at the same time, like, what apologist did Darth hear that was critical of the modern synthesis and picked? Because I'm thinking that he didn't do this on his own.
Somebody at the Discovery Institute.
It's got to be, yeah. You know, and I'm just like, what
or
pamphlet?
AIG.
Yeah, it's one of those. You know, so like, you know, ham and eggs and, you know, and all that kind of crap. Like, where did you get the, like, what Ken Ham affiliated quack told you that Coonan was a heavy hit? You know, that Coonan was the guy that you could turn to.
Right.
That's what I want to know. Like, what are you subscribed to? What newsletter are you getting? Like, what is it that gave you this? Yeah.
Well, and I don't know exactly where Darth is pulling this quote from. I tried to find it and I couldn't. My suspicion is Coonan's referencing the odds that it turned out this way. Right? That doesn't, he's not, I guarantee he's not saying evolution in and of itself has a vanishingly small probability. But what I do know that Eugene Koonin categorically stated to the Christian Science Monitor in an interview was he absolutely hates it when people like Darth quote mine him.
Yep.
Which is what he's doing. And that anytime you have a creationist quoting him as evidence for their argument, it's almost always a misrepresentation of what he's saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, he just like, hey, I know this guy. Like, there's a ding dong named Rebuke and Reprove. Used to be Jesus is Lord. And my brother goes stuff all the time.
Jill is more insufferable than Darth.
Yeah, he's just a colossal moron. But he does the same thing with a guy named Klemecki. The guy's name, he's a proctologist from the 50s. He practiced, I think, throughout. And for whatever reason, he uses him as an example to make what is essentially an argument an argument that deploys a naturalism fallacy that anal sex is unhealthy because it's unnatural. And what he uses is this guy who was a proctologist that saw people in the 50s and 60s, and he had, quote, homosexual patients who were engaged in secret lifestyles. Like, well, it was the 50s and 60s. Yeah, they're not out. Yeah. Go and see him, and he'd be like, I had to help them through all sorts of kind of crises and emergencies, and he just would talk about the crazy amount of damage they did to their body. And I'm like, okay, you're seeing patients, like, even if that's true, the individuals that you're seeing are isolated from the rest of the group.
Right. They're just the people.
Because there's plenty of
needed to see a doctor.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so he just comes up with this, and so Jill Rebuke, Rebuke and Reprove, however he's going, whatever his nickname is now. I call him R&R.
I think the last time he was on Mark Reed, it was Jill, which was only a week ago, maybe.
Oh, he was on Mark Reed's channel? Yeah,
it was a total dumpster fire.
Yeah.
It wasn't on Mark Reed's channel. I think Mark just mirrored it, but yeah.
Okay. But yeah, he does. I don't know what it is with these guys. They'll do the same thing. They'll get kind of, and Darth has gotten fixated with Coonan in the same way. Like, here, I'll bring this guy out and then quote mine him and completely take his points out of context. But because I've cited this, it's like, you do know what an argument from the fallacy of an appeal to authority is, right? Like, I mean, granted, this guy is an authority on this kind of stuff. But the shit you're talking about right now is the probability of abiogenesis. And Coonan is talking about science communication involving explaining evolution. Like, at that point, like, you are kind of doing an appeal to, an appeal to authority at this point. So, like, maybe find somebody who like the day that he finds somebody that is kind of like specialized in the field of prebiotic chemistry, I'll be really impressed. I will be genuinely impressed.
He won't talk to them.
Yeah. Sabra got drunk with Austin in the city of Boston with Toto and Foreigner. If this is even like partially true, that's pretty boss, I gotta say.
Yeah. I'm jealous.
I don't care what he says. I just want to know where the number 10 to the power of 100 came from.
I'm giving it as an illustrative example of a rudimentary protein. Now, the point is this. If I gave you 1 trillion squared Earth-like planets, that would be 10 followed by 24 zeros. There wouldn't be enough time in 13.7 billion years where mutations are occurring on every single one of those 10 to the power of 24 zero planets to produce even 1 or 2 coding sequences for proteins.
And that's just patently
missing some information.
What's that?
And that's just patently false.
Yeah, I love it when these.
Demonstrably so.
Yeah, I love it when they'll churn this kind of stuff out, because now he's doing this. Now he's actually kind of like strengthening it. Like before, it was kind of something like, well, it's really, really improbable, and now it's like, no, it's impossible.
Right.
Like, which one is it? Because those are two very different things. I don't think that Darth even understands that. I really don't think that he understands.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, between like, okay, there's a difference between highly unlikely and impossible. It can't happen, and he seems to be like tap dancing between the two just so that he can kind of, keep his bases covered.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's that, and there's something else that he's completely missing, and it's something I heard quite a while back. Tom Rabbit and Otangelo were arguing over abiogenesis, and Tom mentioned, and he was right. If you're talking about the odds are 1 in, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
That second number means nothing. If it's 1 in anything, then it's possible.
Yeah.
So, okay, here's the 1.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, and I agree, and I really don't think Darth and others really do not seem to grasp this. And it's not like an inability to do math. It's like a failure of imagination. There's this conceptual. They're bumping up against the concept of it and not.
Well, it's a general myopia, right?
Yeah.
Just like you mentioned, with the argument from authority fallacy, he can see it if anyone else does it. When he does it, he can't see it.
Yeah.
Because he can't allow himself to see it.
Yeah, Marty, backwards mathing from any event makes anything seem improbable. Yeah.
Exactly.
Are you going to answer my question, or are you still going to filibuster all over the place?
Okay, well, you tell me why you believe that mutations can overcome the frequency of error. Do you understand the question, Knuckles?
Can you just answer my question before you start bombarding me with questions?
I'm not going to keep playing this little. What's your question?
The game being played here is that Darth refuses to answer Knuckles' question. It's hilarious.
The only question.
Yeah, the only question that Knuckles has asked, and he's been consistent. Like, I want an answer to that question. Where'd you get that number from? And Darth keeps skipping around and asking him counter questions, and it's like
he's literally just asking him to show his math.
Yeah, show the work.
Humor you for a second. What's your question?
Where does the 10 to the exponent of 100 come from?
I told you. I've already explained this to you twice before.
No,
I'm
that's
giving an example.
Answer.
Okay, if you fucking overtalk me again, I will stop responding to you. Okay, is that how you want it? Okay, wait a minute. Hold on a second.
Stop responding. He hasn't actually responded to the question in any meaningful way. So he's just outgassing out of his head. Like he's just.
I will say, whoever the mod is in this channel or whatever, actually, I think did a pretty solid job.
Yeah.
Moderating this whole, kerfuffle.
Yeah.
Are we going to be shouting, or are we going to listen to one another?
I'm trying, but he's not giving me an answer. Like, he's going on a long-ended answer that doesn't pertain to the question directly.
I wasn't aware that was a thing. You deafen yourself to flash that thing, like, get me back on there. How dare you? You know.
I wasn't either,
Yeah.
because I don't think I've ever seen anyone do it.
Right. It amazes me that if for a guy as old as Darth, he's got even like the sort of like basic lingo down. That's how much time he spends in these things.
Right.
Like this is something
Yeah.
that like users know to do. Like, oh, I'll deafen and deafen and undeafen myself repeatedly to show that I'm protesting. Like, hey, I'm still here. I want back in. How dare you? Blah blah blah. You know, like, I
Right.
didn't realize that was a thing. You know who else would know that? 15-year-old kids
Right.
who are terminally online, and this 60-plus-year-old guy who is also terminally online. Like he gets it.
Well, and that's Darth is literally. I mean, he is my dad's age.
Yeah.
How in the hell does he know Discord better than I do?
Exactly.
Like, what?
Yeah, like, oh, you can do that. That's what that's for. When I saw this in this video, I was like, oh, I've seen users on Discord do that from time to. That's what they're doing. Okay, they're pissed. They're trying to get
Yeah.
somebody's attention. All right, okay, cool. Hey Pat, how's it going? Darth rarely shows his math. He did precisely the same thing to me when I asked him about the overwhelming archaeological evidence that supports the historic accuracy of the Old Testament. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And now he's the Steven Seagal of Chuck Norris. Yeah, you might
This
be.
is why I've always wanted to have a one-on-one with Maui. Honestly, he is
Mouty,
a funny guy.
Mouty is funny. Yeah, he's a bass player. Bass players are usually pretty funny.
Yeah.
I'm generalizing, of course. So.
Yeah, I just he's wanting a succinct yes or no or definitive answer, not just a long-winded answer.
You mute me again and I'll leave. If you're truly in your late 20s and you're working on a master's program, which I don't believe you, because you're acting so immaturely, you're rude and interruptive. Okay.
Why are good manners necessary to get a master's degree?
They're not.
I'm always surprised by it. Surprises me how often he deploys this, because it seems to be like, hey, dickhead, if I'm talking like, because Darth will show up all like jacked up in Jersey on people, right, and be like, hey, if you really do have a master's degree or PhD, you better be coming at me with that do you have any Grey Poupon kind of energy. You know what I'm saying, motherfucker? Like, I don't understand why he like does this. Like, it's just an appeal to dipshits in the audience. Like, yeah, by the way, yeah, you do have a degree. How come you're not all like your pinky up, sipping tea and being all like nice and conciliatory and speaking calmly and shit? Like, God, fuck off.
And you know how I know you don't have to have manners or even be a reasonably decent human being to have a master's degree? Jay Dyer exists.
Bingo. Yes.
I mean, there you go.
Jordan Peterson is a doctor of psychology.
Right.
And he's such a dickhead that he's probably going to have some of his credentials taken away in Canada, of all places. Yeah. It's just like, I always like, well, higher education. Like, look, I have partied with masters and PhD level engineers at my college, at my university, from different parts of the world. And universally, the one thing that engineers seem to have in common is a tendency to swear and a love of alcohol. It's weird. I don't know why so many engineers like, it's probably the coursework. It's probably the amount of stuff that they have to do, because engineering
all the drilling engineers and geologists and everything that I worked with in the oil field, 100%. The only people who drink more than those guys in the oil field are landmen like me.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Mounty Taylor ham. I still want to try Taylor ham. Not gonna lie, I've only seen pictures of it. Would try it. I would definitely eat some of it.
Is it like pressed ham or what?
Taylor ham is like a kind of it's basically a lunch meat essentially, but I don't know what the other name for it. It was like, it's like, I don't know, Jersey bologna or something like that, and frankly it looks awful. It looks genuinely awful, but it looks like it would be kind of good on either a sandwich or for breakfast or for a breakfast sandwich. I want to eat it with eggs. That's all.
Olive loaf looks pretty awful too, but
they're pork roll. That's the other name for it. Taylor ham is also called pork roll, which Taylor ham makes it sound
doesn't help me
fancy.
at all.
Pork roll makes it sound like it's garbage food, which I think it probably is trending toward, is more of the garbage food. But I would eat it because, oh no.
I mean, I grew up on Spam and shit. So,
well, Shape-Shifting Monkey says it tastes like. Oh, I don't like Spam. Damn it. Ugh.
If you
But
try it.
Fat Photog says it smells delicious. Well, maybe. It's the Chuck Norris of Spam. Is that a downgrade or an upgrade? I don't know. Like, it kicks, but not in a way that is impressive. All right, let's get back to them. Now we're talking about Jersey food.
Now, you need to demonstrate a little bit more maturity if you really are a graduate student, which I don't believe you. Okay.
Oh,
now, I already explained to you. I already explained to you. Well, then why are you acting like an obnoxious 15-year-old then?
Sir, with all due respect,
because you don't like you ever talk me again, and I will turn you down, or I'll go to a different room. I'm trying to explain to you. Okay, why did one of the world's foremost experts in
Angel Ramirez? Yeah, at this point, I'm hungry enough to eat just about anything. In fact, I think after this is over, I'm going to be going over to the local Mexican place and getting some huevos y papas because, man, I had some of that yesterday or the day before. That was delicious.
Oh, there's a taco joint down the street from me that does these. It's like Jamaican jerked chicken with cilantro and onions and mango.
Nice.
Oh my God, is it good?
I had never had. I found this place because I just moved over to this side of town, and I found this place down the way, and I had never had birria tacos ever. In fact, I really didn't know what they were until a couple of months ago. I saw a Rick Bayless video on how to make them, and I was like, "Those look good. I want one of these days. I'll try to cook them." This place had them, so I order a tray of them. They show up. They're three little tacos, and I'm like, okay, well, these look pretty cool. And then they had this dipping sauce with them, and I'm like, well, this is kind of cool. It's like an au jus, and that shit was so spicy, it was numbing. It made my
That's started right on my alley.
And oh my God, it was delicious. I'm like, holy shit, these are some of the best tacos I've ever had in my life. I have now ordered from this place like 6 times since. I've only been here for like 2 months, and it's just like I keep going. Like, I mean, I'm normally I'm into like Mediterranean food. I like shawarma and hummus and stuff like that. But this Mexican joint has just got you guys are like everything I've had from them is good.
That's a little. That's a little odd in your part of the country. I wouldn't expect there to be good Mexican food in Michigan.
Yeah, it's been kind of weird because normally we would just get kind of the big portion Tex-Mex things, which we have tons of. Right. We have those kinds of restaurants where you get the burrito the length of your forearm kind of thing, and it's like smothered in Velveeta. And I don't really like those kinds of restaurants. They all taste the same. It's always like the chips and the salsa, and everything's kind of bland. But this place is like. I think the owners are from 2 different parts of Mexico originally. One is from the north, and one is from south of Mexico City, and so they both bring different kinds of food styles to their stuff. And while some of the sides and things like that are kind of typical of like Tex-Mex stuff you get up here, like any taco that they make is just spot on. Everything's a corn tortilla, double wrapped, cilantro and onion. Lots of lime. Yeah, it's just fantastic.
Yep.
What are those tacos? They are called birria tacos. Okay. I just put it in the chat. BIRRIA.
Evolution at a microbiology level. Okay, a world-renowned biology.
Yeah, sorry, bite me, TJ. Yeah, you can tell I'm hungry. I'm drifting off.
I'm not going to speak for Jefferson, but I am a fat guy, so it's always on my mind.
Biological scholar, in his book Defending Evolution, said evolution happening through mutations in a one-off universe is vanishingly small. Do you think he doesn't understand the nature of mutations vis-a-vis evolution. Okay, it's because every additional unit of information in a linear path that you have to get right makes the improbability grow exponentially. Now, do you know what exponential growth is?
Am I allowed to answer, or?
You know what? I just asked you. Do you know what exponential growth is?
Yes, like I am pretty sure most people know what
the
exponential
improbability, every additional unit of information makes it even more unlikely. Now, the human gene.
I don't know if that's not entailed from exponential growth.
It's not, and his whole idea of it being something that has to develop in a linear fashion, one after no, no, it does not work that way at all.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Fat Photog, I'd like you. He wants to do a Taylor ham taco. I'm not going to lie. I would take a taste of that. I would try it.
I would throw you both in prison for even making it happen.
I'm sure there are a lot of Mexican chefs out there. Look, our cuisine is already underrated as it is. Do not put pork roll, Jersey pork roll in tacos. Just stop it. Stop doing it.
Yeah. That was my job all through high school. I was a Mexican cook.
Really?
And yeah, that just offends me.
Yeah, the thing that always kind of throws me off about that stuff, it's like, look, just get the basics right. Like when I had tacos al pastor in Mexico, I was blown away. I'm like, this is so simple, it's so delicious. Why isn't this everywhere in the United States? It's easy. It's a giant. I mean, it's basically like shawarma. It's on a kebab, big spit roast. You shave it off, you put it on some tortillas, and then you have a table full of tiny dishes with toppings, and you just like put whatever you want on them and get to work.
Very similar to Ethiopian, to be honest, just a different kind of bread.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, instead of having what is that stuff called?
Injera.
Injera. That's right. That's sourdough stuff. Yeah. But yeah, it's just like I don't understand why this isn't a model that's just everywhere.
It is in my house.
Pat writes, this is Darth's kryptonite. Darth may have memorized Van Til and a few other precepts, but he lacks the ability to defend his own position. In this particular exchange, Darth knows he's fucked. Yeah, and you can tell because he's sounding threatened. He's sounding insecure. He's already worked up, and the fact that he came back after being muted really tells me everything that I need to know. Like he's in there, like no, I'm coming back in. I haven't kicked this guy enough. You know, I'm going to beat this guy up. Like, yeah, he's triggered.
Very, very true.
Genome has anywhere from 3 to 6 billion base pairs, depending on how you count them. 3 billion base pairs of biological information. Now, the point is this: these are all biological passwords. Okay. Now, the point is
biological
coding
passwords.
Even for rudimentary anatomy and physiology is extremely long.
I love this. Darth in desperation attempts the quiz show technique. Exactly. He's already asked this guy. This guy's nailed every question that he's asked him so far. Now he's back. He's like, all right, let's test your knowledge. Like, okay.
Long in the nucleotide sequences. Do you know what nucleotides are?
Yes, I'm sure I know what basic biology that you learn in high school is.
What are nucleotides?
Nucleotides are the stuff that make up the amino acid: the base pair, adenosine, cytosine, guanosine, and what's the other one? Thymine.
And the coding information is all linear, right?
So are you going to let me? Okay.
Okay, so you know.
Does he even understand what he's saying there when he's like, yeah, their coding is all linear? What does that mean when you're talking about?
Well, he's gonna try and ask Uncles, the coding is linear, right? And no, it isn't.
Yeah, Angel. Yeah, Angel is actually right. The kind of birria tacos that I had, they are quesabirria. It's the two corn tortillas. There's a layer of cheese in between those, and then the birria. Oh God, I should have had breakfast. I'm sorry, Wilbur. Really, really sorry. I'm just getting Yeah, biological passwords. This is going to be the thing. He's just going to try to say like, okay, it's the way that this stuff has to code is just like how you have to type out a password. It's just that linear because it's quote unquote information. And it's like, I don't think that's how meat works. Right. And at the end of the day, we're talking about like, proteins gumming together and, getting it on.
Just doing what they do.
Yeah, doing what they do. And these are like, no, it has to line up exactly thus and so. And I'm like, I don't. At any time I hear this kind of explanation from either a young Earth creationist or anybody that's skeptical of like, I mean, some of them can be old Earth creationists and they'll deploy similar apologetics. I'm just like, I don't get this. I don't understand why they think that this is some kind of convincing attack. It's like, it doesn't make sense to me.
No, it makes. Yeah.
Mowdy, stop talking food. Yeah, come on, Mowdy, you do a hangout almost on Sundays where you do food prep. Don't tell me to stop talking about food.
Again, I'm a fat guy who smokes a lot of weed. Food's on my mind all the time.
Yeah, I'm a fat guy that enjoys, I enjoy the finer things in life, the brandies, the wine, the liquor, the food. My favorite sandwich is shawarma. So come on.
Oh, so it's all linear. Are those coding sequences extremely long?
Yes, there are 3.2 billion base pairs in a
right. And guess what? The range of functional sequencing, okay, is infinitesimally small in comparison to any random arrangement of non-functional sequences. You see, this is why Dr. Anthony Flew, a world-renowned champion of AIDS.
Go ahead.
I was listening to something else this morning, and it was an old. I think it was on Gigi's channel, but it was Darth arguing with some guy who was literally just asking him, and he was talking about fine tuning, right? How if any of the constants were even just minimally different, then everything would just fall apart. And the guy's just asking him, well, what do you mean by like minute?
Yeah.
And this is the same kind of thing. Like when you say infinitesimally small, what are you referring to? Like, is it 5% of the possible arrangements? Is it 1%? Is it 0.6%? Doesn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, and the idea behind this, there's plenty of other stuff. Like, what are the odds that this stuff was put in place by a supernatural being that is eternal, that has never not existed? Like if you're going to get into this kind of stuff, like, I'm sure Darth will just be like, oh, but that's a necessarily existing being. He can't not exist. Like, okay,
right.
So do you want to talk about probability again now? You're the one that believes in a necessarily existent super being. And you're going to try to scare away a guy with a biology degree working on a physics master's degree. You're going to scare him with numbers. Okay, cool.
I'm pretty sure he's not scared of big numbers.
Yeah. It's just so absurd. And the thing is, the more accurate, this guy is like concise with his answers, quick. And Darth just completely talks over top of him. This is one of the better examples of Darth just doing the thing that he hates. He is constantly over talking this guy because every time this guy answers, as soon as Darth gets the impression from what this guy is saying that he's completely correct, he's acting like he's on fast forward. Oh, okay, we got past that. Mm-hmm. This is why people accuse Darth Dawkins of operating on a script. Because when somebody does respond, when somebody like this Knuckles guy responds with an accurate answer, Darth doesn't even give him the courtesy of finishing the answer, and he's rolling right on to step 7, because he's got to get through his script. So Darth,
well, and again, so literally, Darth is doing what he complains about all the time in the sense of the heckler's veto and the prevaricator's veto, right? He just literally cannot see it, because he can't allow himself to see it.
Yeah.
atheism and materialism toward later on in his life when Christian biologists came to him and they explained to him what would have to happen at a molecular level, okay, in order for evolution to happen. He abandoned his atheism and he realized that the DNA code had to be the product of design. It couldn't be the product of chance. Okay.
This is a very highly disputed claim.
Do you
Yeah.
Do you accept that evolution happened in spite of the fact that it is astronomically remote?
Hold on.
That evolution or abiogenesis? Because evolution is happening.
All the time.
That's an incredibly ignorant. Like at this point, you know that Darth. I mean, if you didn't pick up on it before, because I don't think this is the first time he's done it, even just in this video, that he's equating evolution with abiogenesis.
Right.
And now it's like, do you accept that evolution could happen? Given like evolution is happening, we've observed it.
He accepts that evolution happens.
Yeah.
It's just micro evolution, and for some reason, it can't be.
Right.
It can only go so far. Those changes can't accumulate.
Yeah. Yeah. God.
Hold on. Darth. Can you allow Working Knuckles to speak? Because I would have to monitor this if it's just going to keep on escalating on each end.
Okay, I'll tell you what. You tell me why evolution is true, Knuckles. Go ahead.
No, we're not.
Yeah, he's not. It's interesting because he just sidestepped what that guy Jose asked him. Like, does this need to be monitored or modded? You know, 2 minutes to respond kind of thing. And they, okay, you tell me, Knuckles. Like, no, Darth, answer his question. That's all.
Knuckles does a really good job of look, we're not deviating. You haven't answered my only question I have asked, and I'm not leaving that question.
Yeah,
he's doing a really good job of that, which is triggering the shit out of Darth.
It is. Passes every amino acid except MET has multiple codons. In Darth's stupid password analogy, the majority of amino acids have 3 or 4 possible options. Leucine has 6. Darth doesn't know math. And that's kind of like...
didn't know that?
Yeah, I didn't either. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't... I had a feeling that... Because I think I'd heard that from somebody else before. That you can't use this password analogy because there's more than one way to get at it, and because they're more and which kind of makes sense given that they're proteins. They're a little bit more rigorous than that. You know, they can it's not classical music, it's jazz. You know, they can kind of like they can fuck about.
Mm-hmm.
Sidetrapping, sir.
We're not
Then what are you objecting to what I'm saying? Don't give me generalizations.
Listen, Darth. We're trying to figure out exact attachment, exact function to what number. We're trying to find that
the odds of the animal kingdom genome happening by mutations followed by survival is greater than 1 in 10 followed by tens of thousands of zeros.
And that number just came straight out of his ass.
Yep. Yeah. As far as we know, there is I think kind of an interesting hypothesis that puts out the idea that life in the universe is not improbable. It's actually the opposite. It's inevitable. It was inevitable that proteins would form the way that they did, at least on Earth, probably on other planets too, in some shape or form.
Yep.
Yeah.
They're going to polymerize in a way. Just like you're going to get a hand of cards.
Yep.
Okay, but can I just ask where you get those numbers from? I just want to know where the numbers...
Because you're taking all of the unique coding sequences of the animal kingdom, and they each, those unique functional sequences...
That has nothing to do with the number that he quoted earlier, the number that...
Nothing whatsoever.
This is hilarious.
Have to be in the right order. They each are a molecular biological password, okay?
Oh, So I would have.
If they're not almost
Sure.
entirely correct, then they're non-functional.
Gray Knight writes, the password analogy also doesn't work very well because 100% of possible nucleotide combinations will give you a functional codon.
Exactly.
It's a password.
The worst password ever.
Yeah, it's a password, but every combination works. Yeah, type in anything that you want out of the selected proteins here, and you'll get some.
Right. Just like you can play any hand in 5-card stud.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I would have to object to that because we know that the base pairs are usually in a redundant pair. So changing a phenylalanine to alanine doesn't really cause change in amino acid sequence. The UUU to UUC transition still results.
It takes 3 codons to represent a specific nucleotide.
Yeah, okay? And there are redundancies.
Knuckles is literally trying to explain to Darth where he's wrong.
Right.
And how it actually works. And Darth can't have that.
Yeah, and it's funny because his objection has nothing to do with what Knuckles is talking about. Knuckles is talking about redundancy in those sequences. You're going to have these proteins lining up where some of them don't do anything. I think that Dawkins got caught out with this in a conversation with somebody. It was a while back. Somebody was trying to make a point about gene expression to him. And maybe it wasn't Dawkins, maybe it was another apologist, but somebody was trying to explain, like, no, all these genes are present, but only some are expressed. And they just were not getting it. It was just like a frisbee to the forehead. They were just like, well, and they kept running off this, like, no, like they kept trying to stay like the reason that you are who you are is because the exact specific genes that make you are perfectly lined up in a way. And it's like, and this guy was like, no, there's stuff in you that's not expressed.
Most of it is
not being expressed. That's kind of where cancer comes from, right? Like, and they were not. It was just not computing. And I kind of wonder if maybe Darth. I think Darth probably suffers from this one too.
Something Darth really doesn't understand, and I think most creationists don't understand, is you can have, and cancer is a good example. You can have one little piece of your DNA, right, that codes for, in the case of cancer, when a cell is supposed to die. And a high energy particle, like UV light, hits it, knocks that part out. I mean, that's how you get skin cancer.
Yep.
But that can happen anywhere in your genome.
Yep.
Right? These idiots like Tucker Carlson who are talking about, sunning their balls, they're actually speeding up evolution because they're changing the DNA in their sperm directly.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh God! It just brought that image to mind of the oddly hairless buff guy stepping up to that groin height pedestal thing, like just so fucking like what is like? Well, this is the future. You need to tan your balls if you want to be alpha. I'm like, oh my God.
Apparently.
I'm pretty sure if you're standing in front of that, you are not an alpha male. I'm just the alpha male is the Ron Swanson looking guy sitting in an easy chair, wrapped in a robe, sipping whiskey. Just wondering, like, what the fuck is that guy doing over there, burning his balls?
Pretty much.
Of course, there are redundancies. I don't dispute that there are redundancies within the double helix. That's besides the point. The bottom line is this. Every complex system that your body has to be coded for in extremely long linear molecular sequences.
That's probably a better way of putting it, Peebo. Yeah, you probably corrected me.
Long sequences represent a biological password. Okay.
The password has a little bit of flexibility, is what I'm trying to say.
Not
if you have
much.
A password,
Not much.
Okay, not much. That's interesting because an actual password has no flexibility. That's why it's a password.
Well, and again, okay, infinitesimal, minute, much. What the fuck does that even mean?
Right.
Okay. All right. You tell me this right now. Okay.
Sure.
You've drunk the Kool-Aid. Okay. Tell me why evolution is true. Go ahead.
It's an observable fact at this point.
Yeah. I have watched it happen.
Yeah. we have observed it happening. We're watching it happen now. I mean, from bacteria, fruit flies, finches. Holy shit, Darth's a fucking moron.
I have personally watched it happen directly with
Really?
fruit flies and well, yeah, I worked in a biochem lab through college.
In the biochem lab. Yeah, sure. Yeah, Jesus. Yeah, drunk the Kool-Aid on evolution. And again, this is always kind of interesting. Like, you can't get life from evolutionary processes. So you're saying abiogenesis is impossible if evolution is the only like evolution is an explanation for speciation. It is not the hypothesis for the origin of life. I'm still stunned at this just basic lack of comprehension from these guys. This is so fucking stupid. Like, you're arguing the wrong thing.
Well, on purpose. Let's be honest.
Yeah, it is.
No, that's not my question. We're not sidestepping. I don't need to answer that.
No,
question.
you're objecting to me criticizing the improbability of evolution. Is evolution happening through mutations? Listen, is evolution happening by random mutations astronomically improbable?
I'm simply objecting to your BS numbers.
I'm asking you a question, okay?
So I asked you a question 30 minutes ago.
Okay, all right. Bye, graduate student. I'm done with you. You want to keep on playing this game? Every time I ask you a coded question that is relevant.
Yeah, he's obviously not done. He's got to chew them out more.
To your objections, you run and you dodge. Okay.
You asked me a dozen questions. I've answered it.
Have a nice day.
I think he was attempting to show that it's not as improbable as you think it is.
Exactly.
No, you don't know what you're talking about. The idea of mutations building the genome is incomprehensibly astronomically improbable.
What is he? I don't even know where that is coming from. The idea that mutations build the genome?
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
That doesn't make. I mean, even my non-trained brain in terms of hard sciences thinks that that's just a weird way. Like, I don't get what this seems like. Just the very essence of a straw man. Like, no, what in order for the genome to occur, you needed all these beneficial mutations to occur, and that's what. Like, I don't see how that. Like, didn't you just need the proteins in place, and then
they just need to exist.
Yeah, and then it emerges from the available material around it. Like, this is so fucked up.
It's not
even if you throw, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
One of them doesn't.
Yeah. It's definite that one of you does not know.
Okay.
It's not that bad. Do you understand that the coding sequences are extremely long? Each unit of information is a unit of improbability. Each nucleotide, each triplet. Do you know what a codon is?
More quiz show.
Already asked this and
asked and answered. Yeah, the guy definitely knows what a codon. Maybe he's asking the other guy. Maybe he's asking that dude that piped up. Are we seriously back to abiogenesis? Who knows, Mouty? I don't know that Darth knows. I don't think he understands there's a difference between abiogenesis and evolution.
I already answered. I know basic biology.
Do you know what a codon is?
Already asked and answered. Holy shit. Like, he hasn't been paying attention.
No.
He's been in this conversation for less than 20 minutes with this guy. And he's already forgot that he asked him this question, and the guy gave him the exact correct answer.
Well, because Darth isn't interested in actually, here's the thing. Everything he's saying, everything he's doing has one purpose and one purpose only. And that is to avoid answering the one question that Knuckles has asked him.
Yeah. And he's trying to, like, if he does get close to his, I already explained how I got there. And they're all like, we don't get how you got there. What's that number? What are you doing?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
The codon wheel describes the 3 codes that are responsible for making an amino acid. G,
that's
U,
correct.
G.
That's
correct. Hold on. Let me further my.
That's all I need to know.
Sir, you asked me.
And there you go. That's all.
That's all.
That's a constant Darth tactic, right? I'm going to ask you a complex question. You're going to give the first part of a complex answer. And as soon as you complete that 5% I want to hear, that's all I need to know, because that's what allows me to progress down my dialogue tree.
And also it's evidence of, if Darth is watching, Darth, do you understand what gatekeeping is? If you ask a question just to quiz somebody to see if they have a base knowledge in something, and once they give you a little bit of information letting you know that they are aware of it, and you cut them off before they can finish explaining it for the benefit of people, other people listening, you are in fact fucking gatekeeping.
Yeah.
You're trying to exclude a person from a conversation based on the fact they don't understand something. This makes no goddamn sense. This is a shitty dialectic. He's a fucking horrible human being. He has zero people skills, even online, which is saying something. Like, this is just, it's a masterclass in watching somebody literally stomp the shit out of their own dick just having a conversation with somebody through telecom. Amazing.
Yeah.
This guy is.
I will differ with you on one thing, though, Jefferson. He does know what he's doing. He knows exactly what he's doing. And that's the whole point. He's avoiding what he doesn't want to acknowledge. That's
Yeah.
it.
Darth thinks he's like Pacino in Heat. Give me all you got. It's just screaming at it.
He didn't ask you to give me a fourth grade education. All I want to know is if you know what a codon is. Okay. Each
But he needs a
codon.
fourth grade education.
He does, yeah, and the sad fact is that this Knuckles guy has that on hand. Like, he has given him accurate, concise responses to these scientific questions in a way that like this Knuckles guy knows his shit. Like, and not just like he's memorized it. Like, he gets it. That's the only way somebody can like burp that up that quickly. You get it function. He understands how it functions, how it works. And as soon as he starts to contribute anything meaningful to this conversation about scientific processes, Darth interrupts him. Like, I mean, it's just so obvious that Darth can't let this guy talk too long, because he'll make Darth look stupid. In that sense, I agree with you completely, Wilbur. He does know what he's doing. He needs to keep Knuckles from talking too much.
Yeah,
Knuckles knows more and is smarter, and that's
I think.
And I think Darth, Darth being the, kind of crippling, the crippled narcissist that he is, sees that. I mean, he can probably smell that coming around the corner.
Yeah.
Pat writes, in Conan's book, the mathematical analysis that Darth keeps going back to is found in the appendix and is called, quote, a back of the napkin explanation. It's not a detailed explanation statistically. Interesting.
Go figure.
The
Wait,
more
Darth misquoted someone?
Yeah, and took
especially Eugene Coonan.
Eugene, yeah, his beloved Eugene Coonan. What?
Represents a 1 in 20 chance. Okay, now do you want to dispute that?
No, you're stating simple biology.
Now one codon
Can I at least
after another. Listen carefully. This is so simple that even you can understand it.
And yet it's too complicated for even Darth to understand.
Yeah, exactly. It's interesting that he's using that kind of language with a guy who's demonstrated that he knows this stuff extremely well. Well, I'll lay this up for some like a ding dong like you can like this guy. The only reason that this guy hasn't like completely buried Darth in the conversation is because Darth won't let anyone talk.
Exactly.
He's just running his mouth.
Because he keeps on being disrespectful.
I know I had a point to make about the codons, but he just won't listen to what I'm about to say, because I had challenges to his model. And it's not that...
I wanted a good faith discussion, but his behavior, I'm telling you, I mean, even academics wouldn't tolerate that on a stage,
No.
So I hold this to very rigorous standards, as you could tell. This is not acceptable.
I just wish I could get my objections in before he, bulldozers me with
I muted him for
obviously Knuckles has never dealt with it before.
Yeah, I think it does sound like this is like that might have been Darth's first time in whatever room this was in.
That could
So my guess is I'm
because
wondering.
yeah, if Knuckles is saying, "I just wish he would let me get my point out," it's like, bro, you don't know this guy.
Yeah.
Like, he can't allow anybody to ever. He can't even allow other Christians to do. He can't even allow other pre-subs to do.
Yeah, like he'll interrupt and overtalk his flying monkeys.
Constantly, especially Derek Lee.
Mowdy says it just got on the road to Ohio. Keep this going for another 5 hours, please. Can't do it, Mowdy. Sorry. It won't be on for 5 hours. At some point, Jeffy needs tacos. So.
And doing this out of good behavior. Like, sorry.
Do you know what a codon is?
Hey, Tom.
Perfect end.
That was a perfect ending. Just him. Do you know what a codon is? Like, well, I thought I did, but maybe I don't anymore.
Tom's got a knack for that.
What's up?
Tom's got a knack for that. Ending
Yeah.
him just perfectly.
Yeah. He's probably built up quite the library of Darth Dawkins sound clips.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
But yeah, with that, I think we're pretty much ready to wrap it up. Did you want to make a plug for the guy that you're talking about for the audience? We got about 116 people.
Well, yeah, and I know we talked about it briefly before, but if anybody has any idea how I might do this, I recently had a friend of mine lose his home, become addicted to fentanyl, and he recently just died from it. And another friend of mine and I are trying to figure out a way that, especially because in my neighborhood, there's a lot of homeless people and a big problem with fentanyl. And I just don't want to see that stuff happen as much as it does. And if anybody knows how I might be able to get off the ground doing something like that, we haven't even really hammered out kind of the details of what it is that we want to do, but I want to do something. So if anybody's got any input that can maybe help us figure it out, it would be much appreciated. I actually set up a specific email specific just for that. It's wilberforcehelps@hotmail. So if anyone's got any input or can point us in the right direction for something.
I have that
I know
right.
this,
I just typed that into the live chat. Is that correct? Wilberforcehelps@hotmail.
that's the one.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So you're kind of looking at trying to maybe set up some kind of charity or some kind of outreach or something like that to dealing with.
Yeah. Really kind of dealing with it more along the lines of kind of like how Johann Hari has outlined in some of his TED Talks dealing with addiction. Kind of getting people, reconnected to society at large, and having a sense of connection and purpose and, something that can give them something to do besides just,
Get high, fade away.
hopelessness. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I have no beefs with people getting high, but when it becomes a problem,
Yeah, especially if it's something like fentanyl. Fentanyl is not fentanyl's scary.
Shit.
But if anybody has any ideas or any input, the email's right there, wilberforcehelps@hotmail.com. So yeah, it just sounds like you're looking to set up either like a charity or anything like that. Is there anything? Because you guys have like out in your region, you have a lot. It sounds like you have a lot more homelessness than.
Denver's a sanctuary city.
Yeah, we don't have,
and also for homeless people. So our mayor is like,
Do you guys get like? Do other states bus people into Colorado?
Not officially, I don't think, but
Okay. Because I remember hearing about that, like I think it was like somewhere between Washington, Oregon, and California were like taking turns sending their
Yeah.
homeless back and forth to each other in non-official ways. It was always kind of weird.
Right.
I always thought it was kind of odd that Denver would have that high up a homeless population, given how cold it can get in the winter. You know, because it always seems like homelessness
It
is
doesn't get very cold for very long.
okay.
Yeah. Actually, our winters are pretty mild.
Oh, okay.
Contrary to popular belief. We get the cold snap every once in a while, but
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that kind of keeps that's it's one of the issues in my state being in the Great Lakes. Our winters can get pretty gnarly.
well, you
And
guys have real winters there.
real winter, and yeah, and we can get extended cold snaps that can kill people for, and they'll stay that cold for like up to 2 weeks. If we get one of those like polar vortexes or whatever, thanks Canada.
There was
yeah.
one guy when I was in the oil field in Williston, North Dakota. It's like 50 miles south of the Canadian border, right? 45 below is common
Jesus,
for
yeah,
extended periods of time.
Yep.
There was a guy, I was up there for like 5 years, and there was one homeless guy who was there the whole time. And all I could think was, don't fuck with that guy.
yeah, no kidding. He's hard as a coffin nail.
God can't kill him. What are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like this guy can. Yeah, he's literally like surviving. Those winters, and like every year he keeps popping back up. Like holy shit.
He just comes back stronger.
Maybe he hibernates. Maybe his metabolism's completely changed. He just digs into a cave. Yeah. Well, yeah, folks. If anybody's interested, the email's in the live chat. Send him a message if you got any ideas, suggestions, anything like that. wilberforcehelps@hotmail.com. Wilbert, thanks for being a guest today. This was a fun one to cover.
My pleasure.
I am
Always.
going to be covering. This one was kind of a jump forward. I still got some older ones that I've got to get back to, so I'll probably be covering those starting Monday or Tuesday. But other than that, I'll probably be away for a couple of days. So anyway, everybody have
Mr. Batman thing on Tom's channel.
Oh God, I was trying to listen to that 48-minute long one where he's having a conversation with him, the follow up.
Yeah.
And I don't even know if that one's worth covering because it just I don't trust a thing that comes out of Mr. Batman's mouth. He sounds like a compulsive liar and just he's just prairie trash dipshit. All his entire energy is just, rural big talk, sister fucking weirdo. He's just an odd guy.
Oh,
And anytime I've ever heard him talk, you get that laugh and everything. It's I'm pretty sure this guy's got like, if he's not actually like diagnosed deranged, he's got like a brainworm or something. That dude is not right.
right.
But he described.
I'm feeling syphilis. Pretty advanced.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, he describes in a conversation where a neighbor confronts him with a gun, perpetrates a felony in broad daylight, and then he contacted law enforcement, and law enforcement was just like, "Well, it's he said, it's he said kind of situation." And then and then it goes on. When asked to show the weapon, the guy revealed to the cop that he was only brandishing a BB gun. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's also a crime.
It is.
Maybe not a felony at that point, but if you're threatening somebody with what looks like a real gun, that's still harassment.
I think it still falls under felony menacing.
Right. So it's like you might not the way that he's described, like this is not reality. I don't think that this happened this way at all. If it did happen, it happened in Mr. Batman's mind. So
that and all the different like bus driving jobs he's lost. Oh no, he left them voluntarily. Every last one.
Every time there's a controversy, he ends up leaving the job because he did it for the benefit of the people that remain. And I don't even know that it's been established that he's actually a teacher. I thought he was just a bus driver.
Yeah,
and he keeps telling. Yeah, it's like, look, you're a quack. He is listed as the pastor for Lick Branch. That's the name of it. Not kidding. Lick Branch Baptist Church or something like that. If you Google it, you'll find the webpage. And even though in the story that he's telling, Tom Rabbit, that he left the church, he's no longer the pastor or whatever, the website's still up, and it still lists him as the pastor. Now, my guess is he probably made the website. for the church, so it's up to
More
him to
likely.
actually take that down. They probably don't give a shit. It's in the middle of nowhere, southern Indiana, right on the southern border. Yeah, in the middle of nowhere. In fact, I think Lick Branch Church is in Deputy, Indiana, which isn't even diagnosed. It isn't even designated as a village. I think it's designated as a place, quote unquote, according to the census. So it's like,
It's purely a place.
yeah, I think there's a convenience store that's open 24 hours, 1 day a week. If you know what I
Oh,
mean.
wow.
That's like a truck shows up, drops off bottled water, toilet paper, bread, and milk, and the residents scurry in and grab their stuff and retreat back to their hollers. It is
Well, I'm
night.
sure it drops off a whole bunch of liquor.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. And for those who aren't already making their own. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there is.
Yeah. It is.
Maybe that's where Batman's brainworms come from. Maybe he's just drinking too much, grain alcohol or wood alcohol.
That could be it. Shape shifting. He's not prairie trash. He's Kentucky trash. Wow. Yeah. I mean, he is getting into that area of Indiana where it starts to bleed into Kentucky, and yeah,
Yep.
it's weird.
That's kind of like where my brother lives in Illinois.
Yeah.
It's south central Illinois.
I don't think
He's like 90 miles west of St. Louis or east of St. Louis.
I don't think people actually appreciate that enough, because everybody's like, oh, Illinois, they think Chicago, big city, and it's stuff like, you go 45 minutes south of Chicago and it's straight up Mississippi.
Oh, yeah. The whole rest of the state.
Yeah, it's red as shit. It gets country fast. Like it's it's basically just an
My state is that way.
Colorado. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, if you get away from the Denver metro area, like that's all fairly, left leaning. They're blue counties, but then Lauren Boebert is a representative from here.
Yeah.
From Rifle, of all places.
Yep.
So
yeah.
like
Michigan's kind of the same way, because people think of Michigan, they think like, oh well, Great Lakes, Detroit, and it's like, yeah, but here's the thing, like, outside of the Detroit, Lansing, Grand Rapids area, and Grand Rapids is kind of right leaning as far as like a metropolitan area goes. There's just blue pockets in the state. The Detroit area is largely blue in terms of election stuff, and there's another kind of blue little spot in Saugatuck and Marquette, which is up in the UP. But for the most part, basically the top half of the mitten is bright red.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's where all the militias and stuff come from, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's very rural. Lots of hunters, lots of and preppers and gun nuts and all that kind of stuff. Some of those people have moved on. Some of them have gone. Like we still get them. Hell, my old hometown, my folks. There's actually a militia group that has a gun shop set up in town.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, and they've got a Facebook page and everything. They're like the Patriots of Armageddon or something. I don't know, something goofy.
Right.
They're trying to be really metal. But yeah, any of that kind of stuff in Michigan it's always kind of been that way. And it's weird because that top half of the state of Michigan, almost everybody that lives up there is on disability. They're on some kind of social insurance thing, disability, and usually that's kind of what it is. People that are up there have like kind of a fixed income, either retired snowbirds, that kind of thing. They leave, they go down to Florida or Tennessee or something like that. But then they're up here when the weather's not, frigid cold. But yeah, there's like nothing going on there. But they all vote for Trump, so it's weird.
I don't know. That's
All right. Well,
we got focus on the family here too. So
yeah, I think that's so weird that they're there. I thought they were out of Virginia.
Nope, Colorado Springs.
But that makes sense. There was a crazy. I don't know that he would actually be designated like a hate preacher, but he was. I think he was in you guys' local government out there. But he was like a constant fixture several years ago on Right Wing Watch. He's got a weird last name, kind of a Dutch or German sounding last name. I want to say it started with the D, but he was like this little. I think he had like a bald head. He was a Dilbert looking kind of dude, and his shit was just, it was fucked up. I think he was like former Navy. It ran for. He might have actually been a rep for a little while in Congress, federal government, but not for. I think only for like a term or two. But yeah, he was a nutcase.
It's not ringing any bells, but I try not to pay attention to those people. So.
I think he was out of. I think he was out of Colorado Springs. Yeah.
That wouldn't surprise me. That's where Ted Haggard was from, too. So.
Who's that?
Ted Haggard.
Oh, really?
He ran
Ted
a
Haggard.
mega church, and yeah.
I
It was actually the local Denver news magazine, The Westward, that exposed him for all of his, crank-fueled gay orgy stuff. So.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't he the one that? Yeah, he like had the drug and booze filled bisexual shenanigans kind of thing.
Oh yeah, they literally caught him. Doing prank off of a gay prostitute's ass. So
I mean, hey, if you're gonna get caught, I mean, that's the way.
Yeah. Go big or go home, man.
And the weird thing is, like, when I remember hearing about that, and I'm like, well, shit, now I kind of like him.
Like he might be fun to hang out with.
Well, this guy sounds like, he's metal as fuck. Like, if only he'd stop talking so much shit and get his head out of his ass, or his head out of that hooker's ass, whichever, wherever it happens.
Well, no, he doesn't have to do that. He just needs to get it out of his own.
Yeah, get over yourself and get on that guy. Like, yeah, let's make a movie, Ted. Come on, fuck yeah. I mean, Jesus, he's living like a rock band from the early '80s. Holy fuck.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was living like John Wilmot, in the movie The Liberty. Like,
damn. Missed his calling. All right, folks. I guess we'll wrap it up here. We've kind of rambled on enough. Thanks everybody in the live chat. Thanks for watching. I will be back with another show shortly. Yeah. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Wilberforce, again, thanks for showing up, coming on. Thanks for prompting me to do this. It's good to have a guest on every once in a while.
I always enjoy it.
All right, folks. I'm going to play out this video here, and Wilbur, we can chat backstage a little bit if you want, or if you've got to go. Up to you. I'll play the video. Okay, I'll play the video here, folks. Take care. Thanks again, and y'all have a great day, evening, weekend, whatever you're getting into. Take care.